Okay. Good evening, everyone. And today is August 19, 2024, 7 p.m. Board of Selectmen meeting. If you can join us for the budget.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. 7 p.m. and we're gonna be starting with our citizens input. And I believe we have Mr. Stephen Goyette here. Yes. Yes.
You're gonna do one thing first.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. Just if you'd like to actually come over here and then we're gonna do something right before that. I'm sorry. Can we just wait here till you're done doing?
Sure, I just wanted to give Ann,
Ann.
This is a little something for you from the select board and Dennis and Hillary in memory of your late husband Al. We want to give you a little something to remember him nightly by. So here's a little something from all of us.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Can I open it later?
You can open it later, open it, it's whatever you'd like
We'll open it.
at the end. Okay.
Thank you very
You're
much.
welcome.
That's very nice of you.
Check.
Thanks for the reminder, Mr.
You're welcome, no worries.
Mr. Goyette, if you'd like to join us. Sure. And then we'll give you a couple minutes. And then I believe in it's you got some kind of information regarding to this, but if we have, it's I believe Tim and Chief is here too, it's if we need to highlight anything regarding to that, just please sit down. Okay.
So I asked to come in front of the board because of the ongoing issue with Best Buy and the tractor trailers teeing up on Depot Street. It's not happening as frequently as it used to, but I think there's some seasonality to it. And certainly when the winter comes and the holidays come, there's going to be more of a problem. It happened a couple weeks ago. I was told that it's happened since then, but the gentleman that talked to me about it said that he didn't report it. He didn't know if anybody else did. So I don't want to spend a lot of time in the past, but I did want to say this. 2.5 years ago, when the Depot Street warehouse at 152 was being reviewed by the planning board, a large number of us went in front of the board and we did mention the problem that this teeing up on Depot Street was causing. And in fact, I specifically said that an accident was just a matter of when and not if. A couple months after that, while those trucks were being teed up on Depot, there was an accident with one of the tractor trailers going to Best Buy that totaled the vehicle. The gentleman in that vehicle was unhurt, and ironically, he is my son. So I had warned the town about this back when. So here we are, fast forward. And it's still going on. The issue is not with the response, because we know that when it's called in, that the police, or Tim mentioned, call him, and there's the response to go out and disperse. But that's not the issue. The issue is whatever the consequence is, the deterrent or lack thereof. They're going to continue and are continuing to do this. So I know two things. Number one, Best Buy has the ability to resolve this. All they need to do is put a phone number in at the warehouse as a dispatch number. They can instruct their truck drivers to call in a half hour ahead of time and say they're en route. And Best Buy has the ability to say, come on in, we're ready for you. Or they can give them a arrival window. And that arrival window, if it's, later than a half hour, they can lay up at a rest area at the Walmart, maybe behind the Dairy Queen, for a short time, and then come in to prevent that from teeing up. And secondly, and I don't know, they've got to be fined, and I don't know if they have been fined. I don't know if anybody from the town has spoke to Best Buy. Who from the town, who from Best Buy? Was it on the phone? Was it in person? Was it someone from the warehouse, or was it a decision maker at a senior level. So I'm not privy to any of that.
Maybe we could just cut to the chase. We have met with Best Buy, the chief and the building commissioner have been down there personally to meet with them on multiple occasions. To the best of our knowledge, the problem was resolved. As you said, Steve, I think it's just happened once recently. It is an industrial corridor, and that doesn't excuse them from parking on the street, waiting for the gates to open. I think there's other things that maybe we can follow up on. We did adopt a bylaw to address this issue. I know the chief did do some research to find out if in fact there had been any recent calls, and I think that in that sea of blue, I know the chief is there somewhere. We haven't received any.
No,
calls.
we've had no complaints since the Black Friday issue last year, and you know, that was dealt with aggressively. The issue is where the bylaw that's supposed to deal with this, to give us some sanctions against the business, not the truck driver. The bylaw hasn't gone through the AG's office yet.
And when
So-
that does go through, because most of them are independent operators, they're
Yes.
not. So I think that gives us the teeth that we need. But if it does happen, I would encourage people to call. In the past, they did, they sent us videos, we shared those with Tim and the chief, and they went down there, visited. I think it's a much better situation now, but I hear what you're saying. We don't want to find out in November, when Black Friday comes, that it's not, so.
Well, you were,
Yeah.
Ken, did you get called a couple weeks ago?
We've had no calls for traffic complaints on
Because
Depot Street.
2 weeks ago, they had lined up on Depot. A woman on Depot Street posted it on a social media page. I tagged the police on it, and she said that she had called it into the police, so that was, but
Our police department Facebook page can't see what's going on
Okay.
the unplugged.
Yeah.
That individual people might, but it's not people, this is a change in communication in the 21st century where people think, well, I'll put this on social media, they'll respond.
Yeah.
We don't have the social media police, if you will, watching for every
right,
nuance that goes on in town. So someone's gonna pick up the phone and do the old fashioned call and say, hey, this truck's on Depot Street, because it's posted no parking. We can kick them out of it. That's easy, but we have to know they're there.
right.
We can't be everywhere at once. So if somebody calls, says they're there, we'll get rid of them. And then myself and Sergeant Padula, safety officer, go down and deal with the manager of the property. The one time we know it happened was, I think the kind of planets aligned where the security guard that checks the trucks in either didn't show up for work or called out sick, and it was 2 or 3 days before Black Friday. So the 20 or 30 trucks had nothing. That's what happened, but we still said, well, we don't care. That's a you problem. The town problem is don't leave these trucks on the street.
Yeah.
Send them to Mike's truck stop, do something with them, but somebody's gonna step in and fill that role. So they seem to be pretty responsive to that. We've had no complaints. If we had a complaint, we would have already dealt with it, but we're hearing there's an issue, but it's all anecdotal that somebody, that's the issue. No one's told us about the issue when it's going on to go deal with it in real time.
My understanding, and maybe she didn't call, but it was posted, it was 2 weeks ago, and then I was told it happened one more time, but be that as it may, whatever the resolution is, the sooner the better.
Yeah, I think,
Because,
I think.
let me just say, with this, one last thing. Part of the problem is that if Best Buy is gonna resolve this, the issue are with the trucks. The trucks are third-party carriers. So you can do whatever you want to those trucks, but Best Buy is not incentivized to take care of this because it's not out of their
Well,
pocket.
the bylaw that we initiated and passed
Yeah,
actually addresses.
The
that
bylaw is
specific
not against the truck driver. We're not trying to, the bylaw is against the business, and it's not just Best Buy, it's any commercial property. It could be Maple Street, where we've had problems in the past. It could be down south on the boulevard where there's the delivery trucks are, it's anywhere. It could be Dairy Queen or Dunkin' Donuts, it's any commercial property.
So what happened? Because I'm not familiar with this bylaw.
It passed, but any bylaw that passes at town meeting has to be approved by the Attorney General, so we're still waiting for the Attorney
But what's the
General.
consequence? So the bylaw.
$300 fine to the operator of the business that's receiving the delivery, the truck, the repair, or whatever, per incident. So the first truck is 300, the second truck's 300, 300 is what we can do in a bylaw, because it's a municipal bylaw. That's the maximum we can do. Other than that, it becomes criminal. You can't charge an enterprise with a credit. The feds to do that. So, but if there's 5 trucks lined up, that's $1,500. That gets somebody's attention. Why we get, so We did the max we could do, it just hasn't passed, it's passed locally, everyone wanted it, I think it passed unanimously, but we're just waiting on the state now.
And obviously, that's not what we want. What we want is compliance. So, you know, hopefully this will be a little incentive, as you say, to Best Buy to make sure that.
I hope
they
so.
follow it
I
up.
mean, my concern, and it is what it is,
Yeah.
you know, if there's a limit, but $300 to a company like Best Buy is a rounding error.
He's
and
getting
it's
fines. I can tell you, the
business.
big corporations are the worst paid fines when we issue fines.
Yeah.
The little guys will pay it right away. The big corporations, because the managers have to go through a chain and explain to everybody what the heck happened. So, I know it's not a lot of money to them, but they don't like getting, I can tell you, they don't like getting fined. But the bottom line is, let's see, you know, and please encourage your neighbors. If it's there, call it in, because then we have it documented.
I will. I
Yeah.
think part of the problem is that it's been going on for years.
Mhm.
And I think some of the neighbors are saying, what good does it do? You know, that's some of their, not saying everybody, but after 2.5 years, I think people are getting tired of picking up the phone. So I think it's still occurring. Some people might be calling in. I know what happened 2 weeks ago. I saw the video.
Mr. Goyette, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but I need to recognize, Mr. Levashian, and then after that, I'm gonna get Tim's opinion too, and then we move on right after that.
Yeah, I have a
I
question.
appreciate you.
I have a question. Larry, why is it taking so long for that bylaw to come back from the Attorney General? If it was passed last November?
No, I'm sorry, it was passed in May.
Oh, in May.
Yeah, and it's
I
90
thought-
days,
that's
as you
what
know.
90.
Yeah, they'll ask for an extension,
So-
it goes over the 90 days.
It should be back within, I would think
They
soon.
gave us September 19th as the date.
Okay, all right. The other thing is, the only concern I have is that what happened the last time was when school started and all the buses, that created such a fiasco down there between the trucks coming and parking and the buses going back and forth. So I think we have to be aware that school is starting.
Yep.
And we want to be really safe down there
Yep.
with the buses.
That's a school bus stop where they tee up.
I know. I looked,
Thank
I
you.
saw.
Okay. I don't want to hold up everything.
No, I just, look, we need to know when it happens, a phone call from, he's on social media a lot, and if he sees something on social media, call it in. I mean, we don't know unless it's called in, unless we're driving by personally, so.
Okay, thank you so much. Appreciate it, and we have to move on, and I know we have really exciting news. And on the police department and Chief.
All right, so it's ladies' night, Bellingham Police Department. We think, I say think because obviously the research gets foggy, institutional knowledge, every time someone retires, leaves. So we don't have anyone that's been here since the 70s, the 60s, but we believe that tonight we're promoting our first female sergeant in the history of the police department. I say think because I don't know, there could have been somebody that did it for a week in the 1960s that no one, so I don't want anyone to get upset if there was. But I don't think there was. We can't find any pictures. We can't find any history. So we think that tonight's the first promotion of a female sergeant, which is the first level supervisor in the police department. We also have a new female police officer. She's our 6th female police officer, multilingual, immigrant to the United States. We just graduated the police academy. She's been training for a few weeks. We would have got her in sooner, but with the board schedule, this is the first opportunity we had. And honorable mention is Officer Caitlin Bowles will be moving up to detective, replacing Sergeant Kirby. So if Sergeant Kirby and Officer Ribeiro want to come forward and your people with the badges, where's Amy sit there? So we have Officer Tamaris Ribeiro. She's originally from South Brazil. She moved to the United States in 2015. She earned a bachelor's degree in business while she was in Brazil. She's married with 2 young boys. She enjoys soccer and basketball. She's fluent in Portuguese, making her a big asset to us in assisting and communicating with our ever-growing and changing populations. She graduated from the Plymouth Police Academy at the end of June this year, and she's currently in our field training program with some of our more senior officers on the evening shift. She's going to be pinned by her husband, Joseph. They have Sergeant Amy Kirby. She's a 2004 graduate of Bellingham High. She has a bachelor's degree in psychology from Seton Hill University in Pennsylvania. She started with the Plymouth Sheriff's Department back in 2014. And then shortly after that, in 2016, came to us as a police officer. She's been in the detective division since 2018 and has received numerous specialized trainings and been involved in several large-scale narcotics arrests and search warrants. A couple recent ones that were noteworthy. She served as a task force member on the Blackstone Valley Drug Task Force and Anti-Crime Task Force for several years, and she's gonna be, pinned by her sister Pam. So if you guys wanna forward. You dropped one.
Chief, when can we expect that first all-female shift?
I don't know, you need the planets to align, which could happen.
And also, I would like to recognize our state representative, Mr. Mike Sorter, and I think he's here to present our citation to our new.
Congratulations to both of you. I just wanted to say, they gave me a sitting in that chair as, a select board member. I think I told you that your future is bright here and, see it's on this, trajectory to what you and I have always talked about. So congratulations, a lot of hard work, all of you. There's a bunch of you here that were all part of that same group of class. So congratulations to all of you, and congratulations, welcome, please. Commonwealth of Massachusetts, the House of Representatives, be it here known to all that the Massachusetts House of Representatives offers sincerest congratulations to Meredith Rivero in recognition of her incredible achievement of graduating from the Police Academy. The entire membership extends its very best wishes and expresses hope for future good fortune and continued success. Given this the 19th day of August, 2024, at the State House, signed by Ronald Mariano, Speaker of the House, and signed by the State Representative Michael J. Soto. Congratulations. God bless. Stay safe out there. And we'll be praying for you every day. Commonwealth of Massachusetts House of Representatives, be it here known to all that the Massachusetts House of Representatives offers its sincerest congratulations to Amy Kirby in recognition of the incredible achievement of being promoted to sergeant in the Bellingham Police Department. The entire membership extends its very best wishes and expresses hope for future good fortune and continued success in all endeavors, giving us the 19th day of August, 2024. Signed by Ronald Mariano, Speaker of the House, and signed by Michael J. Soto, State Representative. Amy, congratulations.
We will now take the oath of office for new officers within the town of Bellingham. Do you solemnly swear that you will perform your duties as a police officer for the town of Bellingham, that you will not betray the integrity of the department, for trust of loyalty of Bellingham, that you will treat all individuals with dignity and respect, and ensure that your actions are dedicated to ensuring the safety of the Bellingham community and the preservation of human rights, that you will always hold yourself and others accountable for their actions, maintain the highest ethical standards, uphold the values of the department and the town of Bellingham, and that your actions will be bound by the charter and bylaws of Bellingham, Constitution of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, and the United States of America.
I do.
Congratulations.
Amy Kirby. Congratulations on attaining the rank of sergeant. You solemnly swear that in your new role as sergeant, you will continue to perform your duties as a police officer in the town of Bellingham, that you will not betray the integrity or the character of the department or the trust of the residents of Bellingham, that you will treat all individuals with dignity and respect and ensure that your actions are dedicated to ensuring the safety of the Bellingham community and the preservation of life. And you will always hold yourself accountable for their actions, maintain highest ethical standards and uphold the values of the department and the town of Bellingham. And that your actions will be bound by the charter and bylaws and candidates of the Constitution of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, of the United States of America.
Easter, I just want to thank him for all the help we had this weekend, police and fire last weekend with the fireworks. Yeah. Unfortunately, the ill-fated, Thursday, Friday, Saturday events, but Sunday went extremely well, the fireworks and the concert.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Thanks, Amy. Congratulations.
Thank you. 1, 2, 3. Congratulations again. Chief, you done?
We're done. Okay, I'll be back for the rest of it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. That was the highlight of the night. Continue with our agenda. I know it says 7 PM, but actually we're kind of a little behind the schedule here. 7:20, public hearing determined under Mass General Law, Chapter 166A, whether the issue a cable television license to Verizon. Members of the public are invited to attend and to be heard on the topic: A, whether the current cable operator is in full compliance with its currently existing cable license, and B, what are the town's future community cable related needs?
All right,
Dennis?
so, the board approves the Comcast, cable license for 10 years, about 4 years ago. Verizon only requested 5 years, they're going in 5-year intervals, Verizon is. TP Law has an attorney that specializes in cable, negotiations, that's Bill Hewitt, so Bill has always done our cable licensing renewals. Did this one, I had a lot of back and forth with him, the only thing that comes into play during a cable license renewal is, are they in compliance with the license? So that was determined, they have to, reports come out on a regular basis of how they are doing as far as customer service. Every 6 months, those have to be reported. So we see those and they are in compliance with their license. The other thing that comes into play is the capital grant that they will provide to the town, and that capital grant is, I believe it's $180,000 over 5 years. That goes to Access Bellingham. And that is based on the number of residents that actually utilize Verizon for cable services, that is in compliance with what's expected from the state cable commission. So what we're looking to do is extend their license for 5 years. We do have a lot of residents in town, about 1,500 that utilize Verizon. The balance obviously use Comcast. Cable television is becoming, there are fewer and fewer subscribers every year because people are turning to other things or other, online wireless type of television now, and not everyone has cable, but most people obviously do have internet. So we would need, first of all, if there's any public comment relative to the Verizon cable license from the board or from the public. And then if there isn't, we would need a vote to close the public hearing and then to award or renew the Verizon cable license for 5 years.
Does anybody have any questions from the board?
I know you have a copy of the license. Yeah.
I'm not a Verizon user, so I have no questions
Yeah,
about
me
this
too.
service.
Does anybody have any questions from the public? If not, would you like to make a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
And, does anybody would like to make a motion to?
Mr. Chair,
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I'll second it.
I'll make a motion to approve the license for Verizon.
Second.
For
Yeah.
5 years.
5 years. We have first, we got second. All in favor, say aye. Yeah. Okay, we got thumbs up there, so any opposed? None?
No.
Perfect. And, so we all said the time on that.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's, move to the.
Ransom Cookies here from Bellingham Battery Energy Storage System.
Perfect.
Yeah, with a overview of our proposal, myself, Tim McCarty, Chief Miller, along with Rob Lucier, have been meeting, discussing the project that they're going to present this evening. That looks like it's something that looks very favorable for the community. I think battery energy storage has come a long way in the years since its inception. Essentially, what it does is it's green energy in that it provides electricity during peak demand without the need for additional fossil fuel powered energy plants. So it's something that the state and the federal government are incentivizing to make happen, and there are, I don't think there's another one of any significance to the one that these gentlemen are working through the permitting process in Medway on, but they're looking at one that would be contiguous to the Medway property in Bellingham. And by the way, we do have energy storage in Bellingham at our solar site on Williams Way. They're much smaller in comparison to something like this, but I know Chief Miller is here.
Yep.
Yeah. Chief's over here. He likes his own table. So the chief is here also. So we wanted to have Ransom basically give a presentation and overview of the project, so.
Yeah, absolutely. And is there a PowerPoint?
Dude, I can actually, I can put it on here. if you
That'd be
want.
great.
Okay.
And also, just so you know, my name is Ransom Cook. I guess we'll just do introductions. So my name is Ransom Cook. I'm the VP of Development at CME Energy. So CME has been developing private power projects for over 40 years. And 20 of those years has been in the renewable space, and our partner has been Hecke Energy. My colleague here, Aiden Snyder, works for Hecke Energy. If you want to introduce yourself.
Yeah, and so I'm the Director of Development with Hecate Energy. My role is to lead all of our energy storage developments. We're one of the nation's largest developers of renewable energy and have projects under development, all across the country. Here in Massachusetts and across New England, we've partnered with CME on everything. And so the way this presentation will go, I'm going to answer most of the questions around sort of the technical characteristics of batteries, why we selected this site, so on. And Ransom will be able to address more of our efforts to engage with the community at our projects and how we want to move this forward through the permitting process. We're still very early in this project. And so, as Dennis mentioned, this project does straddle the town line with Medway. And so the first phase of the facility will be built solely within the town of Medway. And it would be phases 2 and 3 of the project that we're looking to build on the Bellingham side of the property line. And so.
I just actually have a PDF, you can just go through it. And
Okay,
right?
perfect.
Okay.
So there you have just a quick image of what a battery looks like. It sounds a lot more sort of interesting than it is. In reality, these look like shipping containers with some additional, equipment bolted onto the outside. What you can see there, you can see the ventilation system. That is to make sure, nothing goes wrong inside the system. If there is any, dangerous conditions building up, that is vented so that there isn't any risk to the first responders. You can see the HVAC units. That's there to make sure the batteries stay cool. Because batteries, as we're all aware from, having our phone in our pocket, they can warm up. And so these are, outfitted with either heat exchangers or HVAC units to keep them, within an acceptable operating temperature. And so that's what the project would ultimately look like. We're still a couple of years away from that point, but that's what we're.
It's fair to say those are
here.
much older models than what we would be using on the project.
Yeah, that's a good point. So that image is of a 52-foot container. Nowadays, we have switched to using a 20-foot container, which actually contains as much power as you see in those. And this project was installed just over 2 years ago now.
What was that project?
So that project is located in Southern California, just outside Los Angeles. So right now, we have seven-ish projects across the state of Massachusetts under various stages of development. The two most mature of those projects that will reach commercial operations first are the ones located in Boston and Chelsea, Massachusetts. Those are both a little bit of a different flavor of project. They're actually being built inside a dedicated use building. So think about what a data center looks like, sort of a warehouse type structure, and the batteries are installed inside that building. The rest of the projects, we're considering more of the ground mount, more traditional design to the system. And you can see the Medway and Bellingham projects are listed here separately. Those are actually, two sides of the same coin, all built within one contiguous site. They just cross a town line. And so obviously you have the authority for things that come into your town. Medway, we need to go through a separate permitting process.
I can just make one point here. So the difference between that project, building is just because it's in a much denser location, which is not as much advanced. In the location. And then all these projects have been picked with certain specific land criteria. And that land criteria is having a certain number of acreage adjacent to or across the street from the substation. And so one of the reasons why we selected Medway as a location, Medway and Bellingham as a location, is because right across the street is a very good substation for our economics. And so and it's also a need for the grid to have battery energy storage backing up that power.
So here we just have a quick overview of what one of these battery systems looks like and what's going on inside. So these systems are, monitored, controlled 24/7. We always know what's going on with each individual module within the container. That's how we ensure safety. There is, annual maintenance as well as monthly inspections of the system that are scheduled. And we would schedule, an annual inspection with the fire department to make sure we're still complying with all of the fire code requirements for this project. The technology itself is a lithium ion battery. That is sort of a larger, overarching category. The subcategory would be lithium iron phosphate. That is what is used for these, types of battery systems because they have better safety characteristics than some of the other types of lithium ion cells. So the battery in your phone, for example, that would be a lithium cobalt based battery. And so that is, a much denser sort of power heavy type battery, whereas these are a bit more stable, less likely to have anything go wrong with them. There's multiple different vendors that sell these lithium ion systems. The one we're currently targeting is a company called CATL. Those batteries are manufactured and, integrated and then shipped to us already in one of these containers you see on the right. And so what would be delivered to our site is actually this fully baked container. It's not like we're bringing in the cells and installing them on a one-off basis. It's a very tested, commoditized kind of product we're using for these systems. The design will reflect consistency with, all of Bellingham's permitting requirements. And so that's what we're, looking to install here. Next here, we just have a quick overview of the project itself. So the total capacity of the system would be 440 megawatts. That is, a 4-hour duration. So you'll see two numbers referring to batteries. You will see a megawatt figure and a megawatt hour figure. That is basically, how much volume is inside the container versus how much can come out of the, spout at any one time. And so that 440 megawatts is the power rating of the system. The megawatt hour figure, the 1760, that is the, total capacity that is contained inside those battery units. The project site is a total of about 84 acres. About 56 of that is located in Medway, with the remaining 27-28 located in Bellingham. The project will hook up to the West Medway substation, and we expect to execute all of our contracts with the utility by late next year. That'll be one of the primary gating factors when we can really start finalizing the project plans and be ready to move forward. The total capital cost here, which is going to be important from a tax perspective, we're looking at about $528 million to be spent on the Bellingham portion of this project. So that's the total expected cost of all of the equipment to be located on the Bellingham side of the property line.
I just one thing to add, so phase two of this project will be 300 megawatts and phase three will be 140 megawatts, so it'll be two-phased.
Yeah, and those may or may not be solved on the same, or may or may not be installed at the same time. The reason that we've broken it up into phases is because the grid basically needs to be upgraded in order to connect our project. And so we phase it out so that those upgrades can be made over time and we can still, install that first portion and have it start operating sooner.
So Chair, may I, yes, quickly, I just would like Chief and the deputy, if they have anything to add. You guys matter with this. I'd like you guys to chime in at any point in time with this, please.
I'll let them finish and then we can entertain questions.
Okay.
Do that.
So continuing on, here's just a picture of the project site. So you can see here the portion of this image where it's darkened on top. That is the Medway side of the property line there. South of that, on the bottom of the image here, that is the portion of the project site in Bellingham. And so these are all of the properties that are currently included in the project site. You can see over here at West Street is where the substations are located. There's actually two substations there. There's a relatively low voltage substation at the far right of the image. And then the one you can see above that is the high voltage substation that we'll be hooking up to. The project is going to be located in this cleared area of the project site between the transmission line corridor and there's a gas pipeline on the left side of where the project will be located there. Then there will be an underground power line that will run through that green highlighted portion, that green highlighted parcel there, through over West Street before entering the Eversource substation there. And so that is, where the project is going to be located. And it's, primarily going to be within that cleared area. We've completed all of our environmental studies, wetland delineations, some initial design work, as well as, some of the sound studies and things like that that are going to be required for getting this project approved. We will initially plan to get the portion of the project in Medway approved. We aim to have that complete by early next year would be the expected timeline for the Medway portion of the project. Once that's complete, we can really finalize, our designs and the permit applications here in Bellingham. Right now, our focus is on, making sure that design is right and consistent with all of the requirements in the two towns. And then also working through some topics related to the tax treatment and, the host community benefits associated with the project. And please feel free to ask questions as I
I
go.
want to pause here for any questions.
I got one. So can we go back to the site? Because I'm confused.
Yeah.
So I know the Medway, I know West Street, and I get where the plant is. And then there's the apartments across the street. So you're going to use. So the little green thing, the little green section, is that section at the end of Stone Street?
Yes, the green parcel there?
Yeah.
Yes,
So that's at the end of Stone.
yes.
So how is that going to impact all those houses on Stone Street?
So that parcel there is only being considered, so the outlines you see here are all of the sites that we have purchase options for. And so the only thing that would be going on that West Street and Stone Street parcel is an underground power line, which brings the power from our project into that substation.
So then the containers
The containers,
are gonna go, are they going onto that property on Hartford Avenue? Is that what you're purchasing?
on
Can you
Hartford.
put your arrow where the containers are
So
going?
the containers are going to go here. Do you see where the
preliminary site plan?
Okay, so
Yeah.
that's further back off of Hartford. That's not on. Hartford.
Yes, so they're going to go in this cleared area that is between the transmission lines and the gas pipe.
I was trying to figure out where exactly that is. That's.
Yeah, so-
I'm trying to figure out where that is. So I got Stone Street, I'm very familiar with.
Yeah.
And I know most of the residents there, so. Having just the lines going under there, I don't have a real big issue with that.
Yeah.
But the, I'm trying to figure out where your containers are gonna be.
Yeah,
where
so
that
we
parcel
have,
is.
and we're happy to provide you with this layout directly. That you can see here, it's very small. I'll try and zoom in on it so you can see better. But so the project facilities, the batteries themselves are located in that area. You can see that has already been cleared in the property. And they're made where the first 300 megawatts go on the Medway side of that town line. And then you
Okay.
can see these larger sort of bubbles are located on the Bellingham side of the line. And so
So-
this is the initial design we have. This is something that is really going to change as we start, finalizing what the design we're going to submit for permits looks like.
So
So
this is all under the, is this all, I'm just trying to place it in my mind, you know what I mean? I'm in my mind, I know that area, so I'm trying to.
No, I understand.
So is this going under all those big tall power line things?
other
Way
side,
back?
So
Other
other
side.
side of that, because we can't, there's a power line easement there, so we couldn't, we were not able to put the batteries underneath the power line.
The far side.
Or stone.
Yeah,
So
so
the big piece of land in the back, so
In the
the
very
power
back,
line, when you go
yeah.
on West Street going west.
Right, I know.
And you'll
where
see
it
the
is.
power lanes are, so it's before that before
In the
that.
back.
Way back.
And you know where the power lines come out on Farm Street? They cross Farm Street,
Yeah, yeah.
J&P Auto.
Yeah.
It's, so if you're going up Farm Street from Hartford Ave, right where the power line starts, it's on the right there and out and going north.
I was just trying to figure out where these. containers-
understood, yeah. no,
Because
yeah,
in my
it's
mind,
part of
I'm
the reason
thinking, I
why-
don't want a whole bunch of these shipping containers at the end of Stone Street, because that, the neighbors are not gonna be happy campers about that. trust
The
me.
good thing is it's a very remote site
Yeah.
and it's a very rough site as far as the terrain goes. It's gonna be some work to clean it up, but it's contiguous to the power lines, just the other side. But we can
That's
take
where I
that there,
needed
so,
to,
yeah.
in my brain, I need to be able to figure out where that was.
And we haven't finalized our site design as well, so we're happy to, you want feedback, yeah. That's why.
Oh, you'll get feedback.
And we also intend to host an event where we invite all of the neighbors to come and review our project plans. And we would plan to have an actual walkthrough of where the project facilities are going to be located, so people can really understand what it is we're proposing.
That would be
We,
really good.
totally get that this is out of the ordinary for the
Right.
kinds of proposals that
Is
usually.
it possible to have, when you do meet with the residents, obviously you can't have a full scale, but can you have a small scale sort of model that you would see almost like what these containers look like and try to, just to give them some sense what it, one solid and then maybe one cut a little bit to show. It's almost like Legos, right? If you were to show it, it's a lot easier when you see something, even though it's miniature version of it, still would be kind of helpful to understand.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? Like a 3D model?
yeah,
You do
so.
those things at all instead of, it's hard to visualize on a PowerPoint
Right,
from
of
a lot of
course, yeah.
people.
That is not something we would always do, but
Okay.
it does not seem like an unreasonable request, so we'll have
Okay.
to see what we
We'll get there. Yeah, just a
We also
thought.
have a video that we typically show
Okay.
of an installation we've done, and that is really helpful for people to.
That might even be more effective.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah, I can send that after this to you, so you can kind of see, but it's really helpful once you see that.
Yeah, and at a minimum, we would have renderings available of what the site looks like.
Right.
That would be sort of the minimum bar we're going to clear for our presentation, when we host all the neighbors. But we can endeavor to have something more to offer from a visualization perspective. Yeah.
I have a lot of questions, but I'm gonna keep this one pretty simple. What's the expected traffic impact?
During construction
During
or?
construction, after construction, this thing is up and going. Are we gonna be having, nothing?
Yeah, so after construction is complete, it'll actually be your option whether or not you want someone on site. Some towns request we have someone on site, either as a part of the host community agreement or via their permitting bylaw. From our perspective, there is no need to have a, full-time employee there. In which case it would simply be monthly inspections and then, once a year.
So there's
there
not
would
gonna be like trucks coming in and out of there.
During construction, there will be, but then after that, the construction period is very short. So what is it typically just for the installation construction period?
And. Oh, I just heard they were asking if the audience can add.
No, it would come up this way.
Sir?
Can he ask a question? He has a question.
You said this is all gonna be green power. Where are the windmills, the solar fields, and whatever, hydroelectric or wherever? Is that coming in over the existing power lines? Or is that gonna be near the site?
Yeah, so we wouldn't be building any, wind turbines or solar panels associated with this
That's just the
project.
battery storage.
Yeah,
So
it-
just basically, they store the energy and then they basically feed it into the grid, to make it easy as
Exactly,
possible. So it's not gonna affect anything, this is just gonna be just the storage, to store the power and the electricity.
And that powers any type of power that comes in, so if it's gas, if it's oil, if it's wind, if it's solar.
I was
So what-
just wondering about the land use around it, because you're talking about 85 acres.
Yeah, so there's,
Are you gonna be?
Questions right
No.
now.
I'm gonna say the rest of them.
Yeah.
No, so
Working field or what?
the developed area of the project site would only be about 15 acres. All of the land outside the, transmission line there to the right of the project and to the left of the gas pipeline would be left, as they are today. That is something we've discussed, a few options of what to do with. At some places, we've been requested to build hiking trails through that area of reserved land, but that's really meant to be the setback area, just so we're not, up against any neighboring properties.
Thank you.
Thanks. If you wanna
Good question.
answer,
Great question.
I know Mr. Hennessy has some questions. But we'll let you continue with your.
Well, I think what I'm gonna,
presentation.
my only concern is you hear the stories about the lithium ion storage and the safety hazards, not just of the area, but to the individuals responding to the call. I have very close ties with the fire department here. So, I mean, I don't know if we're taking a vote on this. My decision weighs on what they say. So, I'll wait till the end till you're done, and then I definitely want to get Chief Miller and Deputy Provost on board.
get into the safety.
Yeah, so next slide is our safety slide. So this just talks about some of the requirements that are going to be in place to ensure the safety of this project. And you're right, there have been, there is news about battery events. The most notable one was a fire in a place called Surprise, Arizona, that took place in 2019. That was sort of the worst case scenario of what can happen if you do one of these projects incorrectly. All of the things I'm about to talk about associated with the safety of the project developed after that and were developed in response to that event to make sure that doesn't happen again. And so the first, layer of sort of requirement for our project is the Massachusetts State Fire Code. And so that references something called NFPA 855, which is the national standard for the installation of one of these projects. That requires that we do significant testing on the battery units themselves, so we know what their characteristics are in the case of some sort of battery event. And it also ensures that those batteries, if something goes wrong, you are able to respond to it safely. And so that is achieved through, all of this testing just provides us with data. It doesn't say, okay, this is safe to install. It says, if something happens, this is how, these are the characteristics, this is the danger, these are the potential hazards. We address that by working with the fire department to develop a hazard mitigation analysis that will lay out, exactly, okay, if this goes wrong, these are the conditions that are going to occur. And then that will be used to inform the fire department's, standard operating procedure, emergency response plan, which says, okay, if alarm 1 goes off, this is how, a response would take place. Our emergency response plan really relies on, making sure no first responders are put in harm's way. So if there ever was a battery event, our system is designed in such a way that it can't spread from one container to the other. And so the fire department's role would simply to respond, but stay away and make sure, okay, it doesn't spread outside the project site. It doesn't become a growing issue to the community, but we would in no circumstance be asking that they put themselves in harm's way, to respond to an equipment failure of whatever type. And so, those are all works in progress, but are going to be required for this project and is something that we are, making some funding available for the fire department in-house community analysis to, bring on whatever expertise required to review those plans, make sure they concur with what we're proposing to have in place. And then also, we also include in that host community agreement, we include, some funding for additional training, equipment, that sort of thing, really whatever is necessary to make sure that the, fire department and police department and any other first responders are not in a hazardous position, you know, if something goes wrong with the project facilities here.
So. As Dennis stated, before we started here, folks, we already have these in town. Okay, just at a much smaller scale. And to this date, we have not responded to an emergency at one of these types of units, okay? They are self-contained. I'm not here, I'm not gonna sell a product. I'm gonna give you the safety factor from us. They're a self-contained unit, and when you hear lithium-ion batteries, everybody thinks of runaway batteries like you see in New York City that's going on right now, in a lot of other communities where your small portable tool batteries and things like that are running away. These units are contained. If there's an incident inside this, there's early detection, there's early fire alarm suppression systems. All this is governed very strongly by the NFPA 855 code. It's actually safe for us. It is safer for us. Okay, for us, this is a low hanging fruit. It's not like putting a 200 or 300 home subdivision in where it's really going to tax us. This is pretty benign on our side. All we're going to do is, Eden said, we're going to go and we're going to make sure that there is no outspread beyond that Con Ed box. I'll just call it a Con Ed box for now, keep it simple. And we notify those folks right away. So for us, it's a very safe system. It is governed very strongly, very stringently by the Mass Code in the NFPA 855 code.
Thanks, Chief.
You're welcome.
Do you guys have a good safety record?
So we have never had an event at any of our projects across the country. The most recent, you know, battery event in the region was there were a couple of events in New York State last summer. Those were not the vendors we work with, nor our projects. But if you were to look up, you know, local sort of grid scale battery event, it would be those that show up.
Can you explain what what happened with that?
Can you also, when you get a chance, send your emergency response plan?
Yes, so we can send, at this point, it's just a draft. That's something that's very project specific. And
Or-
even-
Okay,
yeah, we can send the structure of what it will look like and what one could be. But that's something that we can't really finalize until we've firmed up the design.
Mr. Chair. Mr. Connie, Tim, do you have any input?
No, we've had several meetings, and this is a common thing now, so they're changing, like the gentleman said, they're getting more and more efficient as they go along. I mean, this project's probably gonna grow some legs maybe within 2 years, I'm assuming. And it's gonna be more efficient at that point. We do, like they said, we do have Williams Way. It's a smaller scale. They are those size containers. Blackstone has a large battery storage facility as well. It's been there for almost 2 years now, and there's been no issues over there as well. It does abut residential properties. It's up on a hill, but it's pretty good size. There's several of them.
So we also have Maple Street.
Yeah, and Maple Street has a small element as well.
Yeah, so let me get the emergency plan, just a draft. I'd like.
Yeah, absolutely.
And if I recall, you said the last project you used for the pictures, it's 52-foot containers?
Yeah.
So in this project, obviously, 2 year into it, and then you design in, or you thinking to use the half of the size. So
So-
what I'm getting at is, so I'm looking at it here, the start date is project 2027. So when it comes to that point, some of the things might change. And then maybe a little more efficient. There might be a possibility. Obviously, we're talking about 2 years down the road. So I'm not saying it will be a 10-foot container, but I mean, it is. Was there a possibility?
Technology it
Yeah.
advances extremely rapidly, so we have a project in Chelsea, right?
Yep.
When I started that project, like 2021, the batteries are completely different than the batteries are now. You can talk a little bit more into that, but your sentiment is exactly correct.
Yeah, and so efficient here, meaning we would expect the footprint of the developed area to shrink over time.
Yeah.
So, the first battery project I ever worked on was, 2017 at that time, a 52-foot container only had 1.75 megawatt hours of electricity in it. Today, a 20-foot container has just over 5 megawatt hours in it. And so we would expect by the time we're actually installing this project, that the number of containers we're installing has shrunk. Because, the maximum project size is governed by that output we've agreed to with the local utility and the independent system operator. And so 440 megawatts is the maximum size we would build, but the number of containers you need to meet that, size, we would expect to reduce before we actually begin construction of the project.
You do 1.21 gigawatts.
That's from Back to the Future.
Gotcha. I guess I'm a little too young for that one.
You went back like 20 years.
So let me ask you this question. So like our power plants. So do we decommission these? Do these ever get decommissioned like our power plants do?
Yeah, yeah,
how does
so.
it- How does that work? And what's the time frame and how many years does it take to do that?
Yeah, so we would expect the project to have right around a 35-year useful life. The initial, approvals for the project would, and all of the host community agreements, the tax agreements, all of that would assume 20 years, since that's really the minimum life that it could achieve. But we would plan for a 35-year project life. At the end of life, we're required by law to come in, take all of the units out and, bring them to a recycling facility for reuse. And so that is all going to be handled in a decommissioning plan that's required both by the state fire code and we expect by the town of Bellingham's, eventual permitting bylaw for this type of facility. So it'll be our responsibility to remove all the equipment and restore the site to its original condition.
It's only 35 years.
That would be without replacement, right? We would endeavor to, rebuild a new facility, replace it with new batteries or whatever the technology that comes to fruition at that.
So that's kind of the
time is.
average. I mean, we have some sites where we haven't built these for like 50 years, so.
Just one of the things that we've been working on, fortunately, Medway's project's about a year or so ahead of ours. They had completed their host community agreement and had done a lot of good work with it. So we had a nice template to work off of for KB Law to review, and of course, decommissioning is one of the things that is addressed in that.
Yeah.
As far as making sure that there's actually a financial guarantee in the
I
agreement.
just remember our power
Talking
plant
to
years.
that. Oh, yeah.
I think it's a great project, in my personal opinion, because obviously that's what the world is going, the energy need is growing by the second, not by the minute, and it's and I think these facilities are the future, and with the new technology added into it, and obviously you have a plan to replace it and keep the environment the way it was, and I think it's okay in my book, as long as we got the blessings from the chief.
We have a few more slides to go,
Yeah.
which talk about
just
the
gonna say
benefit.
my-
And one thing, this property is not conducive to really to any other type of development.
Mhm.
So it's really not taking prime industrial land or prime residential land and doing something with it. It's very rough terrain, but it's ideal for the developer because it is close by to the substation as they talk about. So they just have a couple more pages to go through.
Please go ahead.
Yeah, and so here we just cover some of the benefits that are currently included in the host community agreement that we've been discussing. And so that includes, a minimum of $25,000 in annual training for the fire department to make sure they're, comfortable with the equipment that we're installing, as well as, funding for some additional equipment that's really, meant to just provide for making sure they have whatever they need to respond to this type of event. As we discussed briefly, there's also going to be money available in that agreement for the peer review. Basically, you can hire whatever experts you see fit to make sure, we're not full of it. Is really what that's about, make sure you hear it from your hired experts that, this system is everything we're saying it is. The site design would also be including sound walls, vegetation management and screening to make sure that, it is not intrusive for the neighbors. We would also be proposing to provide $500,000 for a sidewalk and pedestrian fund. This money is all outside of the tax agreement itself. The next slide, is going to discuss the revenue that's under discussion associated with the pilot agreement. Over the life of this system, it would be paying, just over $140 million in property taxes. Obviously, that is a significant source of revenue and, significantly more than is currently coming from the property. That works out to about $9,300 per megawatt year. And that figure is, is applicable across all those 440 megawatts.
Which is about $4.1 million a year, so it's actually more than the two power plants that we have in town now combined are paying your taxes.
Energy pays well.
Yeah.
We like to think so.
Do we have any input in what goes into the possible, the community agreement?
The host community agreement, the draft we've been working on with KP Law, that ultimately would be approved by, or signed by this board, so absolutely.
I mean,
That
there's
will be
one thing
something that we'll be working on, and those are the types of things that we'll bring back. So the taxes pretty much are set based on
I'm not.
values. It's more the other things, obviously, the fire chief and the planning board, because we obviously go before the planning board will have their requirements, but certainly, Mike, yes, you definitely have input.
There's one thing that just, and I mean, got the blessing from the proper people. I'm on board. There's one thing that's just sticking out of my head. This is going on the north side of town, obviously on the Medway line. Their response time to the north side of town, if there's a delay, is 15 to 20 minutes. And we need a fire station.
Well, those are the types of things that this type of tax revenue will allow us to look at. I know we've been talking about police and fire facilities, we've been talking about the school and their needs, we've been talking about the master plan for fields. There are a lot of things, PFAS. So obviously, a large taxpayer like this will certainly help to.
Yeah, that's
address some of those issues.
it's just if there's we have two stations, right over there, center of town, and then we have the south side of town on the Woonsocket line, and if the center of town's tied up, response time to your facility could be up to 20 minutes. So that for me is just a concern, and I know we are talking with the chief, and he has a wonderful plan in place, and
Yeah, the good thing is, and not to diminish what you're saying, the Medway department, fire department's less than a few minutes.
Yeah.
They're obviously gonna be delayed. Yeah, so.
Yeah, I was gonna say that, but I think with the feasibility study that's been approved, this will all be taken into consideration. What you're doing here and all the growth that's going on in the town, I'm sure.
And the emergency response plan will be coordinated with both departments. It is not something we're relying exclusively on one or the other.
No,
This is, it will be something decided on in partnership with you all as well as the Medway Fire Department.
When Medway started up, correct me if I'm wrong, chief, our representatives of our fire department actually attended sessions in Medway on the projects they were working on.
Yes, we actually met with the fire chief over there when the project first started.
Yeah, so from the Medway perspective, so obviously they'll be doing less of a need since they've already got the project contiguous to this, but it'll be the same type of relationship.
Presentation.
But this project would have to go through the same permitting project as anything else. The only thing that's unique to it is the host community agreement and the pilot. And those are things that this board would have a lot to say on. Obviously, those are negotiations that would be covered in closed session, but the results would all be public, so the public would be able to see exactly what's been agreed upon.
We fully expect to be back here again in the future, providing more information. So, if questions come up, please reach out to us.
A big part of how we develop projects is we like to say we're community first developers, and so we want to go directly to the community, want to hear from the community to make this a project that's, working out to your neighbors, so.
Great presentation, and thanks for your time.
Thank you so much.
Thank you all for the future.
Yes.
We'll take the question on the next time. Is anything particular, Mr. Goyen, or
I'm sorry?
anything particular, or just,
It was just a simple question. Yeah. Is it fair to say that this is basically a giant Tesla power wall for the town?
Yes, I mean, it's a similar technology. A Tesla Powerwall is.
It provides, so this is providing backup to the grid?
Yeah, so I would say the simplest way to describe it is think about the way the water system works and think of reservoirs and, water towers that you have to make sure that, there's adequate pressure throughout the system at all times. That is basically what a battery is, but just with electricity.
And then the last quick question. So does this translate to any type of benefit through electricity rates to town residents? Or
So it wouldn't have a direct impact on the rates for the residents, like exclusively, it does make the system overall more efficient and creates downward pressure on electricity rates across all of New England. Right, so it's not something where we're promising the residents of Bellingham, they will see a, X reduction in their prices, but it does create a deflationary pressure to electricity prices written.
I'll just put it this way, so I live in Massachusetts, he lives in New York. In Massachusetts, we spend about $35 billion a year on power. We import about $25 billion of that power, so that's coming from out of state. And that is directly affected to the ratepayer. So projects like this that are in Massachusetts, the more we have of them, so the better rates, the less power we have to import, creates the better rates for us.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you both.
Thanks for your time. Appreciate it.
I have another quick. Assuming that the worst case scenario, one of these units, has a catastrophe within the unit, which is confined. So what's the toxic levels of lithium if it was to escape?
So
How would it affect the health of the people around the driving through the area?
yeah, so I can't speak to specifically what, the exact components in the gases are. In recent history, where they've done air testing after there's been a battery event, on the local area, there have not been any measurements of, pollutants that were outside of the, legally allowable limits.
And let's just thinking of Love Canal.
Yes, so it is not, this is not going to create a toxic wasteland for you. That is not a realistic concern about our project.
Thank you very much for your time. And of course, I'm gonna give-
Sorry.
No, that's okay. Thank you. Any questions? That being said, the next thing in the agenda. Put the baby to bed.
And she accepted the Zoom, so she got the link. I just emailed her to see if she's jumping on. I don't have a phone number for her.
You want a phone number for her?
Yes.
Jump to the next item, if they're not ready.
419.
Okay, hold on a second.
Is this a good idea?
419.
Yeah.
266 0064.
Hey,
I'm gonna get Jessica to go now.
Yeah.
Yeah, we just we'll go to the next thing on the agenda. We kind of jump on that and then we'll come back to it. And then the water sewer rate discussion. Jesse, how you doing?
good. How are you tonight?
Good.
Thank you all for your time.
I tell you, right here, we promised that we'd come back, take another look at things, and Jesse and I, consultant Heidi, we've all looked at this and come up with something that I think hopefully the board will find much more palatable than what we're allowed.
It is much more palatable. Excellent. I'm gonna see if I can pull this up on the screen, actually,
She's on the phone.
Oh, okay, I think I need access to share my screen. You'd like I can continue on or just?
I'm confused now.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, all right.
We've all got copies of it.
Yeah, we got the company right here.
Excellent. All right, so again, thank you all for taking the time to meet with me today. So we're looking to reconvene and talk about water rates, water and sewer rates. We were able to reevaluate, essentially what we were looking for, what our needs were. Obviously, the last time we met, we had a much larger ask. Essentially, at that time, we were looking to fund everything through the water enterprise. And what we've got here is a more creative approach as what we had discussed. Looking into, and I think this is something a little bit easier for the ratepayers in town here to kind of digest and, obviously, make this happen, within their, some people might have, more of a, confined budget, but this might be something that's more achievable. So previously, we were looking at about $21.12, per quarter of an increase for our water ratepayers. This translates to a quarterly average in the range of about $145.32. And for FY 25 to FY 29, we're looking at an annual increase of 17%. And percentage wise, that is, quite a substantial increase, but we've gone a long period of time without any adjustments, and we're to the point where we see some significant changes to kind of catch back up. So at that point, we were looking at a total average bill increase of $84.48. Where we're at now, again, going through the creative approach and looking at other means for offsetting the burden through, the general fund, for example, we're looking at, an FY 25 quarterly increase of $9.32. And again, this is on water, for FY 25, the average quarterly rate would go from, currently it's $124.20. That would jump up to $133.52. So again, that's $9.32 per quarter. And then for FY 25 through FY 29, you see that average annual increase of 7.5%. So again, that first 7.5% is going to be that $9.32. So this is a progressive, means of getting back to where we need to be, and this is going to take care of the operating budget for the water enterprise. So for FY 25, we'd be looking at a total average bill increase of $37.28 for the entire year. And what changed? So previously, we were looking at only funding our PFAS filtration facility. Again, we're estimating this in the range of $30 million on the conservative side. Doing that through debt exclusion. What we've changed on this new request is, in addition to this PFAS filtration facility, we've also incorporated, we're anticipating our well 10 project coming in at the estimated cost of $6 million, and 2 standpipe projects that are going to need to be resurfaced, repainted, recoated, things of that nature. Again, adding them to that same mechanism for funding. So we'd be looking at a debt exclusion for that as opposed to funding it through rates alone.
Or through available funds, free cash, et cetera. So essentially be pay as you go, which spreads it out amongst more taxpayers. Obviously, the water rate is residential heavy. The bulk of the water rates are residents. Big warehouses don't use a lot of water, but their taxes are a much greater percentage. So it puts more of the burden that way on the commercial and industrial side when it is on the tax rate as opposed to the water.
Mm-hmm. And the last piece of that is, so for the operating budget, we typically would like to see an additional $1 million per year to offset that cost. So again, going back to that same means, as opposed to putting the entire burden through the enterprise funds, we would be going forward with an annual request from FY 25 through FY 20 on the available funds.
So just kind of simplify it. So what are we looking at it right now? So 932 for the water and another 944.
Yep.
So we're roughly, so basically we are looking $19 per quarter.
Quarterly, yeah, so that whole spiel was on the water, and similarly, on the sewer. I do have another page on that. If you'd like, I can go through that and then we can circle back, yeah. So again, on the sewer, previously proposed the quarterly increase, it was substantial. Sewer is in tough shape, and the other side of it, there are less users. So obviously that burden has to come, to the available users. So we were originally looking at $60 per quarter. Again, very substantial, I understand. So FY 25, the average quarterly rate would have jumped to $231.71 from the current $171.64. And then we were looking at one of the notable things for sewer is we're behind the curve as it stands. So we really need a large increase, and then the increases to follow are actually much smaller. So FY 25, we were actually looking at 35% increase, but a much smaller increase for years to follow at 2.75%. Whereas water, it's consistent throughout. So just keep that in mind for the sewer side of things. So we were looking at a total average bill increase of $240 to $240.28 for the sewer side of things. So as it stands now, with this creative approach, keeping in mind what we're looking to achieve with that very large first year, the initial shock, we've actually got it down to a quarterly increase of $9.44. That comes down to an FY 25 average quarterly rate of $181.08. Again, that's up from the current $171.64. We would see a slightly larger increase for years to follow. So instead of the 2.75% that was originally proposed, we're at 5.5, so again, we've got to catch back up, right? And then, for FY 25, we're talking about a total average bill increase, $37.76 for the entire year. And what changed on this? So really, all we're looking to do on the sewer side of things, a little easier, a little more simple. We're looking to get a 2-year subsidy, and we'd be looking at a $200,000 injection from the general fund for FY 25 and FY 26. At that point, we would be able to, realign with funding the enterprise funds through the enterprise fund alone, assuming all things aside from that remain the same. So in total, we're looking at an increase on, a quarterly increase on sewer of $9.44. And the water was $9.32. Right.
That will sustain us, and obviously we'll have to bring capital items to be funded with free cash or whatever means we need to, so that's. I think.
No, I think,
Thank you. But
Yeah.
Yes, thanks
Just,
for your
yeah, thank
creativity.
you, because this is.
And
gonna be much
Heidi
more
and
powerful.
Dennis.
No,
As a
Matt
public-
is our consultant.
Matt, Matt, thank you.
yeah, I think there are definitely better numbers than, what
Yeah.
it was in the last meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll just wait.
We take a
Put
vote.
my input,
right.
I'm sorry?
We take a vote tonight on this.
Yeah, we should.
Yeah, we want to
We
get.
really do need to get it done. We bypassed it last time.
I was gonna make a suggestion, but that's just me, I'm just open to discussion here. It's, obviously numbers are great, and, do we usually, or have we ever asked, I know that we are in charge from the water rates
Mhm.
as a board. Obviously, finance committee, usually, they're looking at all the finances for the town.
Yeah, they have nothing to do with.
Yeah, it's- yes.
With
No.
rates. No, not the rate setting, no, just the budgets and recommendations of matters to town meeting, but no, they've never been involved in.
Never.
Yeah.
That I've ever seen.
Be the CFO, Dennis.
Yeah.
Our
And
consultant,
ultimately the board.
and the board makes the final. I'm gonna make a motion that we approve the rates as presented, by Jessica, DPW director. Do you want me to, do I need to say what
I think
those rates are?
as presented.
Yeah, as presented, this evening with, I'll just say we'll look at water, the new proposed quarterly increase on average of $9.32. F25 to F29 annual increase of 7.5% with an average total bill increase to the homeowners and commercial of $37.28. And sewer, it would be FY 25 quarterly increase of $9.44. FY 25 through FY 29 annual increases of 5.5%. FY 25 total average bill increase of $37.76.
Second.
We got first, we got second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Jen? Aye. Any opposed?
Just one point of discussion, none of us like to increase water rates
Yeah.
at all, this is the last thing we want to do. But Dennis, correct me, if I'm wrong, but when was the last time we actually had an increase in the rate? What year?
Water
Water?
2014, sewer 2016, is that right? Jason?
Yeah, that's what I thought too, 14 and 16, it's been a long time, we've really held off as long as we possibly could. And it just got to the point why those numbers were astronomical originally. Is because we hadn't, and we needed to get to that funding. But we asked Jesse to go back and become more creative, spend some time with our CFO and Dennis and our consultant. And I believe we came up with very favorable rates for the town. Thank you.
Like you said, I'm gonna highlight it today, so I don't wanna do it, just,
Yeah.
but
No,
this is a must at the moment. I think this is the best outcome. And, so that being said, so 5-0, no opposed. Okay,
Great.
good.
Thank you very
Thank you,
much.
Jesse.
Do you want to have Jesse do, the other two things? while he's
Oh,
on?
actually,
Yeah,
let's get that good.
Yeah.
Jesse, you wanna take the next thing on the, on your part? And then we can move to the,
The DPW surplus?
yes,
Yeah. And with that note that, there was an additional vehicle, added at the bottom here. We do have chief here as well. That was for the fire department. So we do have a list here of,
Yep.
vehicles that we are looking to, essentially follow the bylaw, anything that's estimated value of over 2,500. We do need board approval for surplus disposal. And pending the results of tonight's meeting, next steps would involve, posting these vehicles. We would go through a public auction type setup. And obviously try to recoup what we can on these vehicles and put it towards, future requests or put it back into the general fund. Exactly. Okay. Yeah, depending on where the vehicle was originated from.
There's a company that we use, Municipal Bids, that's who we're still
Yeah.
using. And essentially, that's what they do for municipalities. They do others. But they'll come down, take pictures, post it online, and it meets the procurement requirements. So we're able to not have a junkyard out there. We can get these vehicles
Does
on.
anybody have any questions
No,
in this matter?
no.
I'll make a motion to accept the sale of surplus or obsolete property per Article 1 of Section 10 as listed below. And Jesse, you did say there was one other item that's not on this list?
It's actually on the list,
It is,
but for
okay.
clarification, the very last item here is, it does have in the description. It's
Okay. Okay, but
Which one is that? I'm sorry.
The 2014
the
International.
ambulance,
Oh, they,
the very bottom.
oh, okay, yep.
Okay.
Okay, so we got first, we got second. All in favor, say aye.
Hi.
Aye.
Jen? The thumbs up from Jen? No opposed? I vote. Okay,
Tree board.
Thank you.
yeah.
Another tree warden.
Okay, let's go to that one.
Great. So recently, the position of tree warden was vacated by our longtime tree warden, Mike Burr. So we're looking to fill this position. We did evaluate, how this was done previously, and we also took into consideration charter on this. So we are looking to fill it with an individual that has the capabilities, but also the staffing requirements. Obviously, a lot of the tree warden requirements, they may come in during emergency situations, after hours, things of that nature. I did have the opportunity to discuss with my colleagues, other managers, and we all did agree that the best person suited for this role, in a letter of recommendation that I did write, it was for Dominic Mancini, our infrastructure supervisor, our general supervisor. So my recommendation to Mr. Crane is to make the appointment for Dominic Mancini for the position.
The tree warden was a very part-time position. Mike essentially, and Mike will be working with us through the transition. He did, he's looking to move along, but the one thing Mike recommended is bringing it in-house. That, because most of the issues, he's working with DPW personnel, and all the managers felt that Dominic was the best suited because he's the field guy. He's the one that's out there doing the work. So I think it makes sense. And we could actually attach it to that position. So in the future, it stays with, the responsibilities stay with that position. But legally, the town has to have a tree warden. So it doesn't make sense to have, somebody part-time doing it. You've got a full-time person.
Is that gonna, so is this gonna be, like extra training, or is it gonna be added to it, more certifications to his, job description?
And I'll touch upon that a little bit. So we looked into these trainings. The unfortunate portion of that is they're not as frequent as we'd like to see. Obviously, we want to get them trained up as soon as possible. So that's kind of where Mike would step in as a liaison for the position, give guidance, things that he's seen in the field, and try to provide those tips and pointers. While Dominic does have the ability to get trained on it. So it's looking like early spring by the time we're able to get him into the proper tree warding training classes.
And so Dominic's in the union still, correct?
No.
No, he's not, okay.
Correct, yeah, he's out of the union.
All
He's
right.
in the BPAA, Bellingham Professional
So there's
Association.
gonna be no implications with the dual role, is there?
It actually makes more sense to have this as a manager, because a lot of times, things will come in that will require additional assistance, and it's a lot, it makes more sense for a manager to be giving the orders as opposed to.
I didn't want anything to come back on the town.
Absolutely, great question, great question.
I'd make a motion to approve Director Riddell's recommendation for Dominic Mancini to become the town of Bellingham's new tree.
Second.
We got first, we got second. Any? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Jen gives a thumbs up. No opposed?
One last item while Jesse's here, and that's the middle school retention.
Oh, God.
Yep, so,
Oh, you got quite a bit of items just.
yeah, I know the city council Monte asked me to make sure I brought this up, and obviously you've been talking with the chairman of the school committee. Mr. Morano and Mr. Cutler to keep them informed. It had gotten quite overgrown, and that's because a fix has been designed to the actual retention of water. But it comes at a cost, and that cost is paid to the contractor, and it's a state-funded project, so the state has to review and approve the change order, which they've assured us they're going to do, but it's not happening as quickly as we'd like it to happen. The water retention issue seems to be resolved, and I know Rob's here and Jesse can speak to it, but the overgrowth, the contractor owns it, and we didn't want to step on toes, but it just got to the point where it had to be addressed, so we did cut it last week, and at least it looks presentable now from the perspective of being cut down, and we'll continue to maintain it to the best of our ability. It's going to have to be planted over with new plants once the fix comes in, and Jesse, with that as an introduction, go ahead and take it away.
Yes, thank you, and Dennis did cover the majority of the items there. We're just as frustrated, you know, we prefer to take these things over and just maintain them as we do. So we're very excited to move to the next step, but unfortunately for the here and now, it is the responsibility of the contractor. We got to the point where we were so frustrated, we did step in and we did address it. Certainly looks better, but we want to make sure it is addressed properly. So we have a design in right now. We are moving forward towards pushing that, the improvements there. So essentially, they're going to add additional means for water to actually drain out of this thing the way it was designed. So we're looking forward to the next steps, and we're also building in a contingency with this as well. So in the event that it does have a failure, we have the ability to drain it, because there are other issues that come. You know, with our retention pond that's holding water, mosquitoes being one. You know, obviously, it's right next to the school. We want to make sure we're keeping the students as safe as possible. So we did receive an update. So last month, we received an update from Mass DOT that this should be addressed by the end of summer. As we all know, summer is rapidly approaching. So we did get a response today, as a matter of fact, and it is now looking like the updated schedule is by the end of October. And this is for the proposed upgrades to try to expedite the draining, because obviously this thing never drained the way that it was originally designed. So we're hoping to see those incorporated with the contingencies by October. Now is the new update on that. We'll continue to push on them, but it is somewhat out of our ability to push this forward, being a Mass DOT project.
Can I,
So Rob is here. I just wanted to touch on one thing, if I could. Like, Rob, there were some modifications made to the facility. Are they effectively draining it now?
Yeah, so there's temporary modifications right now to the outlet structure. There was actually, I think there were boards that were in place to basically retain water. So the under drain would do most of the dewatering. Those are taken out. So I went there actually after work today to take a look, and it is draining. So I think this is just the water that's leaking in from the, significant rain events. I'm sure with the downpour that just happened, there'll probably be more water in there. But water is able to get out. But the permanent fix, which is what Jesse's referring to, is there will be additional under drains that are installed, as well as actual maintenance structures, so we can dewater this thing immediately if something like this occurs where there's some type of clogging or anything. And like Jesse mentioned, it'll be functioning as designed.
So I got a really just basic question. Eva can go right along with me, because we spent a lot of time up in that area. So why did we do this? I don't ever remember, and I don't know, maybe Jen remembers, I don't ever remember having tons of water in the front of the school, ever, do I remember it?
We're required to manage our stormwater now. It's not like it was years ago. There's a lot of impervious material there with those streets and with the parking areas and everything else. So it's not like years ago, we could put a pipe and just have it dump into a brook somewhere. So unfortunately, we've got
This has been the worst thing I've
Yeah.
ever
And I
seen.
think unfortunately, it's a failed system, and it was something that Don DiMartino and myself talked with the board about, and also talked with the school committee about. So we owe a fix to make sure this gets done, and you know, like I told Mr. Mr. Reed, we would stay on this until it gets done, because we're not gonna leave
gotta
a
do
swamp in
something.
front of the middle school.
It's the worst thing.
Jesse, can I, whatever the update you have, is there any way can we upload that information on our website too?
Maybe we can put something together and get it
Just
out.
Put something together and then
Absolutely.
people actually, or the community informed about it, so instead of, having a whole conversation piece
Yeah.
or someplace else, we can have it on our website, as well as actually probably we can upload it on our Facebook page. And then we have the correct information instead of the people are going left and right, and we have the right information, it's obviously keep working on it.
Sorry, I'm just
Yeah.
like frustrated.
No,
going by.
we went back and forth a few
Yeah.
years ago when they were developing this on the board, but
Nobody
I have a,
Yeah.
nobody liked it. I wanted really nice trees wrapped around it. Oh, we've got $75,000 allocated. There's not $75,000 worth of shrubbery around. I'm a big landscape guy. It looks awful, but I have a fundamental question. When this was built, how do you test to make sure it works? Because if you're saying it's failing, you build something like this, there's gotta be some level of testing, like the fire department shows up and fills it with water and does it drain properly? That's an easy test. We probably don't wanna tax our water resources. We can't wait for a 1 in 10 year storm to see if it works. But there's gotta be some fundamental test that can be done to ensure we don't have this situation.
That's a better one for Rob, I think.
No, seriously,
Yeah,
it
yeah.
boggles my mind that we're here too, we're saying, oh, it doesn't work. Well, we know because water's not moving out, but we shouldn't have to wait for a storm. We should fill the darn thing and see if it works.
So I will answer that question, but let me preface my answer with, I was not involved in.
I know you weren't. I know you weren't,
But
but going forward, fill it
But
like
he's
a
made a
pool and
living-
see if it drains.
He's made a living on reviewing these things in the past.
that is true. So with these basins, the key is to always do the soil testing and tons of soil testing before the basins are constructed. So I think, I don't think the soils were exactly the greatest soils that were in front of the middle school, which maybe they were over designed. I don't know, but,
Or maybe we should have removed that soil and put the right soil there so it would work.
yeah, well, it's all
I guess
based on native soil and
hindsight,
estimated
right?
seasonal high groundwater.
Yeah.
Can't dig further down into that.
Okay,
So,
okay.
I think that one of the issues too that was mentioned when we had that meeting, what was it, 3 months ago, I think, when this all occurred, was that during construction, there may have also been equipment that was driving all inside the basin.
Oh, it was.
So you typically don't,
Mm.
okay, you typically don't want to do that. That compacts the soil. You want
Yeah.
it nice and loose so it can drain.
Drain.
The good thing is, as I mentioned, one of the fixes here is basically doubling up on that under drain underneath. So it actually is the insurance policy to take out the concern of the under soils not infiltrating. That's where that comes into play.
Okay.
And that's really the key with all of these rain gardens, is having that in place. And I think that there was also an issue where there was some filter fabric that wasn't installed, or was installed where it wasn't supposed to. There are a couple things, but that's all getting,
Wrong.
what was that?
A couple things that went wrong, it caused this, but they're all being remedied.
Correct, and it's all getting rectified, and it's actually now that under drain that will allow that water to get out of there is now going to be basically doubled up in size to really allow water to get out, because we don't want standing water in there. Actually, the regulations are, you can't have standing water in there
Yeah,
for
wait
more
for
than
the next state
72
board
hours,
project.
so.
So we gotta find out soon enough.
Okay, thank you.
I just have one question. I think Tim, I did this with you when I was on the Board of Health. Doesn't the town have a blight ordinance for things that don't look right, that hurt the
For
town?
maintenance, property maintenance? Yeah, we do.
Can we start finding the state?
Oh,
Well,
yeah.
it's not the state, it's.
We have other projects lined up with the state.
Yeah, I was gonna say that, that's gonna be a little.
We own it, it's our property.
Yeah.
Okay, but the state's the job to maintain it?
Well, the contractors, the contractor owns it until the state accepts the project, they're paying for it. So, yeah, like any construction project, the contractor is responsible for it until such time
Or
as.
can't we just start, I mean, Can't we just, cause I'm, you know, not for nothing, I mean, I'm on social media probably more than Ann. And
Probably.
I see these comments and,
Yeah.
you know, along with the, you know, the Bellingham House of Corrections, I see this retention pond.
People
And
are wild.
people are bringing it up.
Yeah, I
So,
think,
I mean, if we just start finding the contractor, I mean, it's there, why don't we start doing
well,
it?
it'd be the state that would find the contractor, but I think a lot of it had to do with the overgrowth. And I think taking care of the overgrowth certainly helped a lot, you know.
There a fence around there?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
We've got another $8 million or
Just for
$12 million
safety. It is a
project
pile of water.
in the queue.
Yeah, so
Let's get that one approved
lay
first.
off the $300 fine.
Okay, anything else on your,
I'm just looking at the
No,
report.
I think that was a very good, background on what we're dealing with out there. We're certainly interested in addressing the issue. And I think going back to the initial question as far as being able to test these, it does come down to the initial, as these are installed, we have to give them the material that's suitable, it's intact, it's not impacted. But also, we have different variations depending on the groundwater level, that time of the year. So it's kind of a moving target, but yeah, in essence, we're excited to move to the next step and looking forward to October, but we can certainly post an update on that.
okay, thank you so much. So anything else related to you from the agenda? Well, this is it.
I think that's it.
How's Rentham Road?
Well, that's actually a good bit of information.
Yeah. So we actually do have good information on that as well. So we did receive an updated memo on recommended next steps. So we're hopeful to move forward with that as early as this week as far as installing controls to divert traffic to opening a single lane for access. So this is contingent upon the material actually arriving as it's supposed to, lining up our line striping contractor and coordinating with our structural engineer to ensure that everything's in place. But we're hopeful Rentham Road is open for partial walk traffic this week, if not early next.
Perfect. Jesse. you got
Thank
it?
you, Jesse.
Thank you
Thanks so much. I'm gonna say this run.
Right.
Yeah, can we go back to the task force or I need a little more time on that?
Well, it's up to you guys. You want to wait a little bit longer and let Larry go next, or what do you think about?
We can move,
We can,
The
why
next
don't we
item-
do Larry?
Yeah,
It's
Larry,
just-
yeah.
We're just opening the warrant.
okay, go ahead, Larry.
Go ahead. Instead of making them all wait.
Thank you. Presented.
Good evening.
And Larry?
So I'm here to discuss the police presence at the upcoming election. I would recommend that we continue doing what we've been doing, step back a little bit in terms of the manpower, but the elections continue to become more and more contentious. And for the presidential election, I think we will step it up a little bit more as well. So I really just want the board to, if they would, to give us the okay to go ahead and have police presence, because that's the way the law reads, that you have to acknowledge that we're going to have it.
Okay.
Larry, you saying stepped up, you saying added more police officers? Is that
Like,
what we traditionally have?
No.
You're asking for more?
No.
When you say step it up, I'm just,
no, from the last election.
oh, yeah,
This current election, the primary, don't anticipate it to be very busy. It's not a contentious thing, there's nothing on it.
Right.
So we can keep it on the lower side.
Okay,
but the presidential election,
so we go back to regular.
The more traditional.
yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you should
absolutely.
have one for every precinct, like, one in the lobby and one outside.
That's right.
So you should have,
For the
should have
smaller,
seven.
like, I think for the local election, I believe we only had 4. We had 2 inside and 2.
right,
Yep,
but no, for this you need
Yeah.
more than that.
Well, not for the primary, really. I don't
No,
think,
for the
but
right-
presidential, absolutely.
I'm with you.
The good thing is that, over time, because we've been doing this now for a couple of years, and I guess it's a year and a half anyway. We'll be able to do it only one time for the entire year. We don't have to do it at every election time. We don't have to, okay. So you just say that there's going to be a police presence at each one of the elections.
When can we do that?
Hmm?
When can we do that?
We could have done it tonight, however, it specifies that it's for the primary, so I don't think it's a good idea to do that tonight. But for next year, when the year starts out, you can make a motion for every election this year, so you don't have to keep revisiting it.
Which makes it easier,
Much easier.
makes it much easier.
So.
So we need a motion.
Motion to approve. Town
The
clerk-
added police
town
officers.
clerk's recommendation for added police officers.
It's
No, not added, just.
Not added, just for the locals and primaries are the same numbers, and then for the presidential election, the
Yeah.
same numbers.
But it's not
as-
really-
Motion to approve the town clerk's request for police presence.
There you go.
That's because the presence.
Perfect, so we got first, we got second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Jen, we got thumbs up, no opposed, 5-0.
The riot here for the presidential election.
Do you want to open the
Right
fall
here.
town meeting? Are you gonna open the fall town meeting? Do you want us to?
Well,
open?
usually that's us.
Okay.
Yeah, then we can do that.
Right.
And thank you.
Thank you, Larry.
Thank you.
Thanks, Larry. And we're gonna sign the election warrant, but that we don't need to vote on it.
Okay.
And I just make a plan.
So, what we, moving to the next meeting? What else we have?
Is the consultant here? No.
No? You guys wanna just go ahead and? Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Move to,
All right, so
Are
we'll
they
just
gonna
let
come
you
back
guys,
from
you guys
the
will
plan?
just let it, we'll let you present.
Okay,
Yeah, he's not-
yeah, please go ahead, you know, if you want. How you doing tonight?
Thank you.
We're moving as quick as we can.
That's my bad.
Congratulations to the new board members. Nice to see you all.
Thank you for having us. We are the three co-chairs, Dave Dunbar, Jim Fitzpatrick, and myself, Ken Burge, from the Asian Dementia Friendly Task Force. And we are here this evening to ask for $35,000 to have a needs assessment for Bellingham, for the town of Bellingham. It's something that we need to do in order to have Bellingham recognized and designated as an age and dementia friendly town. So we're here to ask for money to have this assessment. We had Caitlin Coyle, who is the, she's the professor at UMass Lowell who will be doing the needs assessment. She's a demographic gerontology person working in that capacity at UMass in Boston. She had a child emergency this evening and couldn't be here. So Josie is here to help answer any questions that you may have. I'm asking if you were able to, if any of you read the contract that we have. Okay.
thank you.
And I'm certain you probably have some questions. So Josie also read the contract and we have, so hopefully we can help you answer. Do you have any questions for us?
No, to me, it seemed pretty
It was
straightforward.
pretty comprehensive.
Okay.
I personally, I believe the town needs it. I think it benefits our town, it benefits our senior center, it benefits our seniors in town. And I believe that we as a town need to be prepared for supporting individuals with dementia. So I'm very much in favor of spending this money to.
We have an age population. We are an older population in this town. We always have that. So I think that this is just something we should do and progress forward with it.
It's going to benefit the town in so many ways, I think, we think.
I think so. I think it just goes right along with everything you do at the senior center now anyway, so.
So Kay, let me ask you a question. So let's say we go through all of this and take on their recommendations. Does this help us in any way apply for grants? And, you know, like, hey, we've gone through this process, we need a grant for X, Y, Z. Does this put us in a better position to receive those grants?
It's the only way.
It's the only way, okay, well,
It's the only way.
to me, you're gonna get the money back then, in some way, shape, or
For
form.
funding and grants.
Right, that's true.
So it's something that needs to be done on many levels, for many reasons. So, and we think anyway, so we're hoping that you thought that.
That's fine.
Go ahead, why you got?
No, I think, I just gonna echo, I think what Mr. Martinez and Ann said. The population's getting older, they're not getting younger. And we need to do this, and especially you just reinforced my one thought, which is the grant side of things. Does Josie have any thoughts? She's been sitting there quietly
Been so good.
all night.
You've been very well behaved tonight.
Very well behaved, yes.
The only comment I will have, additional comment, is that, when you look at census data, and I know that's really the only data that you can truly look at unless you knock on doors. But I would imagine that there are many individuals that don't respond to the census information. So we probably have a larger population of seniors in this town than we show proof of on our census. So I'm thinking that the data is skewed to start with, and it's more important that we do something to help you.
Okay,
Yes.
they're gonna send out 5,000 surveys, and about 1,500 of them will go from 55 up. The rest of them go for older, I think the bottom is like 60. They expect to get 1,500 back. Some of these are paper, you can also respond online.
Is there a way to do a code red to just a certain population, or does it have to go to the entire town?
To a certain population, would need to go out to the entire town.
You guys think that would help? Do like the call and the text message to everybody, letting them know that this is coming in the mail, and that if you get it, to please respond to it.
Yeah.
I see no reason why we can't, and we can ask Caitlin, if there's any preparation they do, to let people know there is.
Yeah. Put something in the bulletin, obviously.
I think this is the whole purpose of this, the agreement. And I think it's gonna be the first step. I think, we had many conversations regarding to this. And I'm in favor in this, particular, study. And I think amount of data is gonna provide us, it's gonna set the town, not just particular this matter, but I think it's gonna be, it's gonna give us a lot of details, what we're gonna be needed for 5 to 10 years. And I think the money is well spent. I'm definitely in favor for it. I know we had some private conversations. And this is an incredible idea, and I'm definitely supporting this idea.
Great.
Where do we go from here? Do you want a signing ceremony tonight?
So the next one is gonna have a motion.
Making a motion to approve the application for the professional service agreement for 35, wasn't it? $35,000.
Second.
So we got first, we got second, and any questions? I'm assuming not. And all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And we got thumbs up from Jen, so 5-0, and no opposed.
Bye, Josie.
And appreciate it, for all the time you put into it too. I know it kind of delayed a little bit in the process. I think we started this a little over a year ago, all right? And so I think this will be a huge step to go in a good direction.
So we'll look to
This
fund
will be the
it.
first, yes.
Yeah, we'll look to fund it in November, the November
So,
town meeting, so you
that's-
can't quite put the ink to the paper yet, because we have to appropriate the funds.
So that's my question.
Yeah.
So from here, we go to.
No, we'll take it from here, as far as the funding goes.
Well,
You
tell me.
just, yeah, you just support it obviously at town meeting, but I don't imagine there'll be people showing up to vote against this.
No, I don't either.
So get all your friends to tell me.
Yeah.
So we're gonna have a full
If
house.
they remember, no, I'm kidding.
But we'll make sure that it's, we have our capital requests.
Yeah.
For items that are under $35,000, so there'll be several, and it'll be one of probably 6 or 7 items that the town is looking to appropriate funds for. So and then the next day you can sign the contract.
That's
great.
And is there anything more we do? We do nothing.
Spread the
Nothing
word.
else.
Larry bought more buzzers for the town meeting. Let's fill the auditorium.
Let's spread the word and then explain to people what we're trying to do, and then I think that will be a huge help for this cause. And as I said, I think we all in favor.
Yeah,
And, I think
absolutely.
just-
Thank you
let's take
so
it.
much.
Yeah.
I think what you're doing is wonderful.
Thank
Well, we have to.
Thank
go
you.
to-
Okay.
Me?
What? Did I forget something?
Evidently you did.
You're on the list.
Thank you, thank you.
Thank you.
Well, anytime, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay. so, positive, 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 and then we move, yeah, so, Hillary,
Yeah. We need a motion to open the fall town meeting warrant tonight with a close date of, I didn't write it down. Did I write it in my email?
I think you good by the ISIS,
Well, the close date is September 20th.
okay, so moved. Second. We got first, we got second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Jen, we got thumbs up, so we got 5, no opposed. So that's all set?
Yes, all set.
Okay, perfect.
Thank you.
And the next one is on the agenda, vote on July 15 and August 5th minutes. Second. Okay, anybody have any questions? No, perfect. We got first, we got second, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Jen, we got thumbs up? Perfect, no opposed, 5-0. That one is all set too.
Thank you.
Any old business? Okay. Dennis, anyone else?
Oh, yes, well,
Rob had
Rob is
something.
still here. He had one item on the, I know I mentioned to a couple of you beforehand. Rob had suggested that there are a number of people, additional people that would like to be on the zoning bylaw committee. Specifically, I think there's somebody else from the Conservation Commission as well as a citizen at large, additional individuals. And one of the things we talked about was whether or not the board would consider expanding it to 7 members. The Charter and Bylaw Committee were 9. But obviously it's the board's. Who is on this committee right now? Can you speak?
So planning has appointed Phil Devine, select board is Don Martinez. We have, ZBA was Bartlett. So those are the 3 right now. And then we have interested parties right now. Conservation Commission has not, there's nobody that was selected for conservation yet, because
But that's important to have them on there.
oh, I agree. And there's
2 people.
there's 2 people that are interested in that, and I think it would be great to have them, as well as I know that there's a member from the planning board that's interested as well. It would be, what I would recommend is 2 members from planning board, 2 members from conservation commission to basically round that out, and then 1 citizen at large, which the citizen at large, I guess from my perspective or from my clarification, is that appointed through the select board?
Yes, it's
Yes.
it's the
Okay.
board's committee, so you would be the
Okay.
board.
Yeah,
that
we
would,
have to vote on it.
Yeah.
All right.
So at the end, once we have the planning board member 6.
Yep.
Then we're gonna need to know who the citizen at large is, and then we will take a vote to approve all of those members to that committee. And then the 2, Tim, and yourself,
Sure.
as non-voting members,
Right.
as ex officio.
Okay, so I think that's kind of the
Do
story.
do you have a thought on the citizen at large?
Well, I know that there was a question about, or there was a request to reach out to Jeff Scornavaca, which I think would be.
Well, he will be.
He would be very, very.
It would be
good.
phenomenal. I know I held off on it because I know that
Very knowledgeable.
he is very knowledgeable. So I held off on reaching out to him because of the potential with the interested planning board member who wanted to, so I think there's confusion there on my end. So, I think, basically we go from 5 members to 7. I think that that's just going to take care of, any not confusion, but a little bit of contention between some of the boards, so.
Or the Comcoms.
The 2 interested members for Concom, it's Don Coelho and Stephen Kohler.
That would be great too.
So,
That's perfect. Yeah,
So you
I
have
think.
2
And
plans.
planning is Phil Devine and Steve Goyette, they're the ones
Right.
that wanna be
And
on
then
it.
we've got Tim and you
Yeah.
and Ron, and then we'd have the citizen at large, correct?
correct, and I know I'm, at least with my dealings when I was on the planning board and working with some of the citizens, that can't even talk, some of the citizens that were on, a few of the, subcommittees that I was on. I'm sure that if Jeff isn't interested, I'm sure we can find somebody that would be a great
Be
candidate.
awesome if Jeff would do
Good.
it.
So he's in with us.
MBTA.
MBTA, yeah. It's he's awesome, very knowledgeable, it's
So, Mr. Chair, I think it might be important then for us to at least give Rob here the ability to reach out to that individual. And I think we should probably take a vote on that, just so we're on the up and up with everyone in town saying, hey, we agree. And then if he says yes, but in the meantime, if there's any other citizen that says, hey, I want to put my name in the hat, then it's a matter of us having a conversation with them like we did with the committee to, review the applications and whatnot for town administrator. I think in full transparency, that's probably the best route, but I think we like that gentleman, we think he's highly qualified, but if there's another citizen that said, hey, I want to be part of that, then we'll have to go through a similar process.
So is the board okay with a 7-member committee?
Yeah, I definitely,
that's fine.
I think it's helpful.
Yeah.
I think with this, you're getting a lot more, you're getting diverse experience. And I think that's the important thing with the zoning bylaw review. There's a lot of crazy projects, a lot of contentious projects. And I think we need to really tighten up the zoning bylaws in
So
the town.
just to review that, so you and Tim and 2 planning board.
They're just ad hoc members, like they wouldn't be.
No, I know, just so
Okay.
they're gonna be basically involved with the
Yeah.
whole board.
Yes.
And 2 from Concom, 1 citizen at large, 1 ZBA.
Mhm.
And
2
planning.
planning
2
and
planning,
1 select board.
1 select board.
I think it's a well-rounded.
Yeah, I do too. And the other piece I'd like to mention, is that at the moment, since Rob's the town planner, I would want him to be act as the chairman for the first meeting, open the meeting up, describe, and then like we did, then basically have a vote for chair, vice chair, and secretary.
Yeah.
So I would want you to, not me, I think it's important for you to run the initial meeting, open it up. And move on and then we move on from there. That's what we did with the charter bylaw. Mr. Cupper opened it up and then we went along that path.
So do we need to, so we need to take a vote to go from 5 to 7, right?
Yeah.
Yes,
So, okay.
yeah,
So
So
anybody,
moved.
yeah, okay. So, so we'll take in a motion to, increase the number from 5 to 7.
yeah.
We're all
And
set.
for the minutes, let's just name the number 2 planning, 2 Concom, 1 ZBA,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
One
One
selectman,
select board and then.
Rob and Tim.
Rob and Tim.
And then 1 citizen at
At
large.
large, correct.
Okay, so we got first, we got second on that motion.
Yeah.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Jen? We got thumbs up? So we got 5-0, no opposed. And, so move then.
All right.
Great.
Okay, so the.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rob. Appreciate it for
Thank
your
you,
time.
Rob.
Do you have a thought on when that first meeting's gonna be? When, I know you and I had chatted about early September.
Yeah, I think it might be pushed probably mid
Yeah,
to
I
late
think so.
September.
Yeah, it
but-
makes sense. based
Yeah.
On everything.
Yep, definitely. but-
Excellent. Got a lot going on.
Rob, before you leave, actually, Tim probably told you, it's, if nothing else under the old business, new
Nope.
business.
Should I get back in the hot seat?
Not really. I think it's something we need to look at, especially obviously we're looking at it with the zoning bylaws, obviously. I know there's a new housing bill, it just passed. Am I right?
Yeah,
And so I think that's something, that we need to look at and then we need to be proactive about it. And what it does, if my understanding is, that when I read through, it's kind of bypassing our zoning and building, I don't wanna say building codes, but I mean the planning.
Yeah, it doesn't circumvent any building code or
Yeah.
safety codes or anything. It's more of a zoning thing.
Yeah, so,
And it's a criteria that the state passed to probably create housing, more housing.
so it's, you don't wanna come across, obviously, it's what I'm saying is that my understanding, somebody can basically just decided to add a little apartment, it's right under there on the basement or on the shed or whatever that might be, so I think it makes it a little more complicated. I think we need to look at it. And
So we were able to regulate it with the family apartment thing.
yeah,
So that's no longer the case.
Okay.
It's gonna be a by right thing, but there's still some regulation to it. It's
Mm-hmm.
not just, they can do whatever they want. There's a formula for it. There's a square footage, it can't exceed 50% of the size of the existing home, living area. It can be a detached dwelling, but it still has to meet, zoning or zoning requirement as far as setbacks. It's not something that can be put right next to a neighbor or, You know, so there is some,
15 feet from the property line, all those type of things.
Yeah, the
depending on the zone you're in.
Depending on the
yeah.
zone, that's right,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, that's setbacks.
So, I will
Yeah.
just bring it up and then, to make sure we are, ready for it, just in case if something comes,
So look, we regulated it up until now,
Mhm.
with the, ZBA, you know, they would hear each case individually and, they would take it based on what they were applying for, and it had to have certain, it had to be a family member, or they wanted to, they got into it where, what is really the need and that kind of thing. But now, it's just something that we're gonna have to deal with. And, things are gonna change, people's properties are gonna turn into, a two-family now. you know? So, we're just gonna have to try to do the best we can with it.
okay.
And we did receive some language, a little bit of guidance from, I think it was KP Law and another law firm whose name escapes me right now. But there is some wiggle room in the zoning bylaws to add I guess, a little bit of belt and suspenders approach. I know like parking is one of the requirements. I don't really know exactly what the mechanism is in place, if you can actually create a specific like section of the zoning bylaws. I think it's something that we should look into just because that takes effect, it's February of next year, I believe. So we're a little bit against the clock as far as the zone change. 15 still be done, we got time, I know.
How does this impact septic or town sewer? So if I have a septic that's designed for 8 people and now there's 12.
Yeah.
What happens?
No, they're subject to all of.
They still
All
are, so they
regulations.
would have to have their septic
Same as
redone.
now.
Same as
If you're gonna
now.
add a bedroom in your home, if you
Yeah,
have
no, I
a
get it.
home that's a 4-bedroom home and you wanna add another bedroom and you come in for a permit, it goes right to Board of Health for
Yeah,
review
yeah.
and it's, the septic needs to be.
That's why,
sized.
okay, great, good.
As I said, I just want to bring it up and then make sure we're on the same page. We can get ready for it.
Yeah.
And that will be my piece on that topic. You'll do your thing and then, we'll
I
look
think
into it.
we really have to put our heads together, especially in
Yeah.
this new, committee to try to,
Yep,
adjust some things. We have a lot of different things changing in town, with the
Mhm.
demographics and stuff and,
yep.
and different kind of businesses moving into town that I think we can get out in front of, we're gonna have to.
We have to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And
Thank
I got one more thing, I was kind of actually, I just kind of come to my, when I was thinking about it, when I saw, Mr. Slaughter earlier. I know we discussed it in the past that, the park on, Stalbrook. I know there was some.
Handicap,
Yeah.
accessible, yep.
Yeah, so I know we kind of, took little traction and then, I know there was money was allocated and then can we revisit that and then maybe if we need to reach out to.
Yeah, what we were talking about is, they've raised quite a bit of money. They have another fundraiser planned and they're gonna be close. We're looking to supplement it at the fall town meeting. Obviously, we want to get the board support to raise some money to finish that project off. I think the people that are behind it, they've raised about well over $100,000 for it, so they've done great work. So that is on track. I've been meeting or talking with Hallie Glassman, who's kind of that has spearheaded, so that's moving forward. And I've talked to Mr. Morano about actually, now they know where it's going to go.
Yep.
It can go where they wanted it to go, and they need to do the engineering to make sure that the drainage is right and all the other issues, so, yeah, that's.
So we're gonna put that on in that the plan, we're gonna put them in the fall town meeting.
We're gonna look
We can look at-
we're gonna look to basically bridge the gap between where they are and where
Okay.
they need to be at the town.
That's perfect.
Yep.
That's great.
Yep.
That's awesome. That's great news.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Nice.
Yeah.
Did we take permits out yet from down below?
No, they're still doing
Yeah.
a lot of earthwork, probably in the spring, I would imagine. They're making some pretty good headway, they're hauling a lot of material out,
I know. I know.
but it's just Dennis and I went down there not too long ago. So, it's amazing how much earth they've moved.
And that's a sizable land.
It is, I would think he'd want to get going I'm sure he's trying to get going as soon as possible to stay in
It's
the
a lot of
market.
wetlands.
Yeah.
Okay.
If anyone hasn't been down toward South Bellingham, Rentham Road, take a look when you go by the fire station and we got it all painted up.
It looks
really-
nice.
Really
It
looks
looks
good.
really
Came
nice.
out great.
Except they need to redo the logo though, right off next to the door that says Bellingham Fire, because it blends in with the red.
Oh, yeah, well.
Yeah, I think it looks really
yeah, it Came out
awesome.
dynamite.
I go, I
Pictures look
Yeah,
just going
new-
there.
it's got a new roof now.
Yep.
We polished up a lot of the trim, replaced a bunch of trim, we coated all the railings for the ramps, the flag poles, all painted, really come out nice.
It-
Yeah, a little more to do.
And it does-
And they're
it
getting
stands out.
windows as well, but it's
Yes.
really shaping up, looks dynamite.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was time.
Yeah,
It was
absolutely,
time.
absolutely.
Anybody else? Any,
I
other new
I
business?
just have something quick. I had a meeting with I was reached out to by the Greater Milford Shabbat Center. Meet with their rabbi, and he pointed out to me that Bellingham is one of the few towns in the area that does not do a menorah holiday display. And asked if we would be willing to do a menorah holiday display. I sat with the rabbi, met with his wife, had a actually really in-depth conversation with him and the wife. My knowledge of the Hanukkah season, the menorah is limited to Adam Sandler. So it was expanded quite a bit. And he asked that we build the menorah, but they would maintain the menorah. My first thought was giving it to the town common committee. The rabbi asked if we could have something a little bit closer to the street. So I wasn't sure if we could use the green space out here, if that would be appropriate to do a display. It would be a big ceremony. They would come out, they would do all the lighting and then the ceremonies to do it. I guess it's a very in-depth. The first one is for the first night of Hanukkah, but then they just come out and light it after, every day after that. So I told him I would bring it up and go from there.
I think we do Christmas trees. I don't know why we wouldn't.
I don't have a problem with it.
Yes, so.
The only concern I have is. I'm all in favor of it. Will we have other groups that are gonna want their?
It's going to take up that entire county.
And if,
We have everybody with
and
everything.
I mean, I'm all in favor of it. So Christmas tree, I mean, but I prefer it in the town common.
That's,
And the reason why I say, I know what the rabbi's saying, but then again, we don't have a Christmas tree out here, we don't have others, so to me, we put it in the town common.
that is absolutely fine.
Because rule of thumb is all or none. It's
Yeah.
kind of illegal.
No, it's
Someone-
that's,
I-
like we kind of said,
Yeah, I'm in favor of that.
He brought up Milford has one, obviously, because that's where they are, they're right off
Yeah.
85 across. The Crystal Room, I guess, Medway has a very nice one. There isn't a very big Jewish community in Bellingham, but there are several members of the community here in town. So what I will do is I'll reach out to the rabbi this week and put him in contact with the common committee.
That's perfect.
Yeah, I think that would be the best place.
I do too.
I don't know if
Good
you're,
idea.
Well, plenty of places to park there, they can go there and walk around.
do you have any experience building a menorah?
Well, no, but.
We can, yeah, we can. get that
We
taken
can.
care of.
We have the copy.
Yeah.
He'll take care of
Have
that.
to store
Put a
it.
new one for our.
Yeah, I know.
He'll love that.
I'm sure,
Him and
I'm sure we
Kendall
have
love
wood that we could
It's still
repurpose.
that complicated,
Yeah.
He probably has some lights.
I have some plywood they can have,
Yeah, right.
or sheets, I don't need.
So any other?
No, I'll reach out to the rabbi this week and let him know, and I think it's Larry is the common committee.
Yep.
Yes.
So,
Well, town common trustees.
yeah.
So that's all set then, and then
Jen wanted me to tell you that the name of that playground is Our Playability.
our playground, okay, perfect. Good, so excited that it is, it's gonna be in the fall town meeting, that's
Yep.
awesome.
I know that the school committee, I've talked with Ms. Morano about, it, but I know the school committee is very much in support of that, obviously, as well. They've got a great spot for it now, I saw it.
The name of
That's
the
awesome.
organization raising the funds.
Our playability.
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
It's fantastic.
I just
Dennis?
had two very quick. You know that in September, we are interviewing for town council. We gave them each, told them half an hour. We got 10 minutes in between each one. You've got copies of it. So 4 good firms. All 4 of those firms
Yep.
are
respectable.
Exactly, do a lot of work. And the town administrative search committee will have their first meeting next Monday. It'll all be public session. We'll just be going over scheduling, timing, open meeting law as it relates to screening committees.
I think we're meeting here.
Yeah, we'll meet right here. So it'll be next Monday at
6 p.m.
6:30. Was
No, 6.
6, okay, next Monday at 6, right? Okay, that's all.
Okay. I think we fulfilled the
And make a
agenda.
motion to adjourn.
Second.
Here we got first, we got second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We got the thumbs up from Jen. So 5-0, no opposed. Thank you very much for your time. And I greatly appreciate it. We moving things forward.
Thanks, Jen.
Let me know.
Thank you.
If you'd like, you don't have to.